This is Top Accolade Global News Update. I am Abiodun Mohammed. Xi Jinping has secured an unprecedented third 5-year term as China's president, a largely ceremonial role, putting him on track to remain in power for the rest of his life. The nearly 3,000 members of the National People's Congress (NPC), China's largely ceremonial parliament, voted unanimously for Xi after the constitution was changed to remove the traditional 2-term limit for the post. The NPC, whose members are appointed by the ruling Communist Party, cast 2,952 votes for Xi over about an hour. No one voted against him. No candidate lists were distributed, and Xi, as well as those who secured other posts, were believed to have run unopposed. The election process remains almost entirely shrouded in secrecy, apart from the process by which delegates to the Congress placed 4 ballots into bright red boxes placed around the vast auditorium of the Great Hall of the People in Beijing, where they meet. Xi was also unanimously named commander of the 2 million member People's Liberation Army. Russia's first missile blitz on Ukrainian cities in weeks was met in Kiev with defiance and disgust over the targeting of civilians, while Ukrainian forces defended the eastern town of Bakhmut continued to thwart Russian attempts to break through. The Ukrainian military said on Friday that its soldiers had repelled 102 attacks in the past 24 hours in Bakhmut, a town which has been a key objective for Russian forces since August. The pre-dawn missile barrage on Thursday killed at least 9 civilians and cut electricity supplies in several cities, but there was relief that the risk of a catastrophic meltdown at the Zaporizhia nuclear plant was averted as power was restored after a temporary disconnection from the Ukrainian grid. Ukraine said its air defenses shot down many drones and missiles, but Russia also fired 6 Kinzhal hypersonic cruise missiles, which they had no way to stop. Moscow confirmed it had used Kinzhal, Russian for Dagger missiles, in Thursday's attack. The mass strikes on targets far from the front were the first such wave since mid-February, breaking a lull in the air campaign against Ukraine's civil infrastructure that Russia launched 5 months ago. German police were searching for a motive on Friday after a gunman believed to have been acting alone killed several people in a Jehovah's Witnesses church in Hamburg. Police declined to say how many people had been killed in Thursday night's attack, but said the gunman was believed to be among the dead. The Bild newspaper reported 7 people were dead and 8 wounded in the shooting in the northern city that is home to Germany's biggest port. Several of the wounded were seriously hurt, the Jehovah's Witnesses said. In quote, "Bad news from Hamburg," Chancellor Olaf Scholz wrote on Twitter early on Friday, calling the attack a brutal act of violence. He said his thoughts were with the victims, their families and the security forces, who he said have been through a difficult deployment since the shooting at around 9 p.m. Interior Minister Nancy Faeser said on Twitter that the authorities were working urgently to investigate the crime. Malaysia's former Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin has been charged with abuse of power and money laundering in connection with the awarding of government contracts during the COVID-19 pandemic. Muhyiddin, who led the country from March 2020 through the worst of the pandemic, pleaded not guilty to the 6 charges at a Kuala Lumpur court on Friday morning. The charges were filed after Muhyiddin was questioned by investigators from Malaysia's anti-corruption agency for a number of hours on Thursday over a government support program that his government introduced to help building contractors during the coronavirus lockdown. He faces 4 counts of abuse of power involving 232.5 million ringgit and 2 counts of money laundering involving 195 million ringgit. Muhyiddin, whose ethnic Malay-dominated Perikatan Nasional (PN) coalition lost a close-fought election to Anwar Ibrahim's multi-ethnic rival in November, has previously called the investigation politically motivated. The outgoing leader of the Federated State of Micronesia, FSM, one of the world's tiniest countries, has accused China of bribing officials and making, in quote, direct threat against my personal safety as part of a bid to take over self-ruled Taiwan. China later denied the accusations on Friday in a 13-page letter sent to Congress and state governors. President David Panuelo accused Beijing of carrying out a campaign of political warfare that included overt activities and covert actions, including, in quote, bribery, psychological warfare, and blackmail. Panuelo, who will leave office in May, said China was seeking to interfere in the FSM to ensure that the country would align with Beijing or remain neutral in the event of a war over self-governing Taiwan, which the Chinese Communist Party claims as its territory. The FSM, which is home to fewer than 115,000 people and located about 2,900 kilometers northeast of Australia, is independent but receives financial assistance and defense guarantees from the United States under a so-called Compact of Free Association. That is the size of top accolade global news update. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy weekend.